time to plant some of our bell peppers. These are just regular old California Wonder bell peppers, and these are orange ones. These are green. Now we do these the same way we do our tomatoes. We just dig a small hole. We have some compost in here. I have some BioLive and bat guano in there. And I'll put a tablespoon of BioLive and bat guano in every hole. Mix it in with the soil, and that gives our plants a boost. So that way when the young roots start coming out, they have something to feed on until the roots can get down in the good soil and feed. The bat guano and the BioLive just help give them a boost to get started. So we'll go ahead and plant a few of these and I can show you. Alright, so I just take my small spade shovel and just make a hole. And then take a tablespoon, the bat guano and BioLive, and put it in there. And then just mix it up in the soil. And take your pepper plant, put him down in there, and then just pack the soil back around it. Just like that. We'll go down through here and we'll plant this row of pepper. Okay, I thought I would give you a close-up of planting one of them. Like I said, we just take our BioLive and bat guano, mix it up in the hole. Of course, it's a cold day today. Got up this morning, it was raining and 42. And the wind's been blowing about 20 miles an hour all day today. Just like that, we have our drip tape going down through here so that way we can water them later in the year. Peppers, they don't like to be wet all the time. You can overwater your peppers, so you want to let them dry out pretty good between watering if you're having to water. Of course, if it's raining, there's nothing you can do about it really, but you just don't want to overwater your peppers. You'll see them start to turn yellow and wilt down, and a lot of people think that means they need water, and they keep watering them, and it just creates more problems. But peppers love the heat, and they love the dry. So I'm going to go down through here and I'm going to finish planting the rest of these peppers. We have some more over here that we need to get to, and we'll go ahead and plant the rest of them. Turned off even colder. I've had to go in and put a long john top on. Just looked, it's 48 degrees and the wind's blowing about 20 miles an hour. But I still need to get the garden planted, so I'm going to push ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get some landscape fabric down. See, I needed this part down. I have plenty of residue on the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and roll some landscape fabric out and get it out. I may not, this is where we're going to plant our tomato plants, and I may not get them planted today. I may take them inside for tonight because it's supposed to be right around 40 or in the high 30s. So I may go ahead and wait, but this is the last week of May. I generally have my garden completely planted by now. Christy and I normally start planting around the 15th of May. And this year we had a late frost and we waited. So we've been putting our garden out for the last week, and I need to get the garden in. So I may go ahead and just get this rolled out, go ahead and get some compost down, so that way tomorrow it's supposed to be in the high 60s for a high, and then only down in the high 40s tomorrow night. So it won't be quite as bad on our tomato plants. So I think I may go ahead and just get everything ready and then wait till tomorrow to plant these tomato plants. We put our peppers in earlier, so hopefully they'll be okay tonight. I may cover them up with a bucket or something. So that way if it does clear up tonight and the wind lays down, just in case we get late frost, which hopefully we won't, but you never know. Yesterday we were able to get 13 of our tomato plants planted. It was raining and cold, so I didn't have the camera out. But what I wanted to show you was these Amish paste tomato plants. Look how bad they look. Unfortunately, I've left them in these small trays too long, and I let them dry out a couple times. I forgot about them, but this isn't a problem. These will perk right up. I'll take some of these lower limbs off, these yellow leaves, like those. I'll just take my thumbnail and pinch them off before I plant them, and then we'll plant them in our soil, and in another week they'll be beautiful and green, and you won't even know that they had any yellow leaves on them. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and plant these today, and in a couple weeks I'll do another quick video just on our tomato plants and show you how good they look. But if you have tomato plants that look like this, don't worry, don't fret. Just take the yellow leaves off of them, plant them in some good healthy soil, and give them a couple weeks, and once their roots get into that good healthy soil, they'll green up and they'll grow beautiful. Okay, it's got 24 tomato plants in. It's the last week of May. Of course, this is our first garden. We plant our second garden in July. So if you're not a subscriber, you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that way you'll see what we plant in July, how we plant it, and why we plant it. Of course, the why is so we can keep fresh vegetables right up to first frost. Now, I showed you earlier some of these tomato plants, how rough they looked. You can see on this one here how many leaves I took off of it, and then buried it down a few more inches deeper into the soil. But in about a week, these will be bright green, just beautiful, and they'll take off growing. You can see some of these other ones. In a couple days, I'll take some more of those leaves off of them. Like that one right there, you can see. I'll take it off in a couple days. I have cardboard between them. Now, this did have good residue from our cover crops, but I still put some cardboard down to keep the weeds down. The residue should keep most of the weeds down, but just in case, I went ahead and put some cardboard. And let me show you right here. Look, that's all from cover crops. I can get my hand, that's 3 or 4 inches thick of residue from the cover crops. You can see some there, all the way down. Those cover crops are about 6 foot tall. But that has our tomato plants in. And most of the rest of the garden, we still have to get squash, zucchini, and melons in. So that's the next project. Okay, Christy and I are getting ready to roll the landscape fabric out here. This is where we're going to plant our squash and our zucchini. But before we do, I wanted to show you this. I took my weed eater yesterday and chopped all this down. But I want you to look at all the residue from our cover crops. You can see there's vetch, there's winter wheat, there's peas. You can see the peas in here. But I just wanted to show you how thick this was. If I dig down through it, okay, I've got down to the soil right there. There's some oats. So you can see that's the length of my hand, the residue that's left from these cover crops. Now this is going to put organic matter back into the soil and nitrogen into the soil as this breaks down all summer long. So we'll roll a landscape fabric right over top of this. We'll plant our seeds right into this with some compost on top of it to give our seeds good soil to seed contact. But this is going to break down all summer long, and by the end of the summer, when we get ready to pull our landscape fabric up, this should be all dirt, and this should be composted down pretty well. And we'll be able to come in here and plant cover crops for next year's garden. But I wanted to show you this, how much there is. You can see all the way behind me, I can just grab huge chunks of it up. And that's what you get when you grow cover crops in here through the winter time. You get all this residue. The roots have been penetrating the soil, deep into the soil all winter long. All the legumes have been depositing nitrogen and phosphorus into the soil. So we should have a pretty good grow right here. So now we're going to go ahead and roll this landscape fabric out and get to planting. Christy and I have put flags in the center of all our square holes in this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the landscape fabric and move it off to the side. And then we'll use these flags so we know where to put our piles of compost to plant our zucchini and our squash in. That has our squash and our zucchini planted. There's 2 rows of squash, 7 per row, so that's 14. Plus I put 2 seeds in every hole down through there, so that should give us 28 plants. So that way when I come out and pollinate later in the summer, I'll be able to keep my genetics very diversified. If you keep your seeds from your heirloom plants, you want to make sure that you keep your genetics diversified, because if not, after a few years, those plants will get weaker, they'll be more susceptible to disease. But by having 28 plants to choose from, I can cross-pollinate, put my cheesecloth on, tie a piece of yarn around it, then I know that's the one I want to keep for seeds. And what I'll do is I'll breed the different ones all the way down through there to keep our genetics diversified, and then next year when we plant those seeds, all of those different genetics will be in there and we'll do the same thing. Now on this side we planted zucchini all the way down through here. I put 2 seeds in each one, so that gives us 14 plants to choose from. Not quite as many as the squash, but I'll still cross-pollinate those plants all the way down through there and keep those seeds, so that way we can keep our genetics diversified on our zucchini also.